Hi, this is Sam Hunter at Hunter's Design Studio, and I'm back at Montavilla Sewing Centers in Lake Oswego in Oregon near Portland with Irina, and we're going to take you through, as a beginner, you're looking at your very first sewing machine and you're going to bring it home, and now what? Now what happens? You've got your shiny new machine. So Irina is going to take me through this wonderful little Janome as if I have never seen a sewing machine before. Okay, so we're going to get it home. You're going to have two things to plug in. One is power, and one is the power foot.
Foot control.
Foot control, is that what we call it?
Yeah, we call it
And
foot
it's-
control. There are many different feats in connection
Oh,
with the
that's
sewing
right.
machine. So we have
Power.
a foot control is
Foot
the one
control.
that you put your physical foot on
Mhm.
and push to make it sew. There is a presser foot,
Okay.
also foot, and there are different versions of that available that goes on top of the fabric.
All right. So this is the gas pedal. This is the
Yeah.
go pedal. Okay. So we're going to turn it on and let it wake itself up.
Little noise it makes for basic computerized machines, any computerized machines, it's very normal, it's typical, nothing to be scared of.
Okay. So I've got my machine. We're not going to show you how to wind a bobbin. Your store is going to show you how to do that before you take your machine home. And we've got our bobbin in here. This particular machine has what we call a top loading bobbin. Some of them, the bobbin will actually go on underneath here sideways. But this one is on the top. And one of the wonderful things about top loading bobbins is you can see them running out.
Yep. And a lot of machines also, the higher you go, they have a low bobbin indicator, little sensor that also gives messages. But yeah, this is a top loading bobbin. It's called jam-proof bobbin case, which means you can actually, when you piece, you can go from one piece of fabric to another. You can stitch in the air, you can create little chain, and it doesn't jam.
Okay.
In case of a most basic mechanical machine that have different bobbin case, called oscillating bobbin case that goes under the needle plate, it's not the case. It's not as good to do so. You have to really stop.
Okay.
So, but with this one, it's not a big deal.
Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is load thread. Most machines have some kind of a stick that goes this way or this way, it sticks up, that you load your thread on. And we can have a whole discussion about which threads get loaded which way, depending on how they're wound on the bobbin. We'll come back to that. Wound on the spool. And then we thread the machine into the thread path. And the machines usually have a drawing on top of them that tells us what direction we're going to go in. And it usually comes across the top. It goes down and up and down again. And while it's doing that, it's going through various different tensioning mechanisms to hold that top thread still at the perfect tension for making a good stitch.
There are always two tensions on any sewing machine. There is a tension for the top thread and there is a tension in your bobbin. That's why there is a bobbin case. Bobbin is a round little thing that goes into bobbin case, and threading both correctly is very important because tensions between top threading and bottom threading creates that beautiful stitch. So,
and here's the fun thing: if your top tension is off, it shows up in the bottom on your sewing. And if your bottom tension is off, it shows up in the top when you're sewing. But we don't usually have to adjust our bottom tension. That is done by our service
technicians. If you feel like your tension is not really, you can adjust a little bit here and there, and for certain particular techniques you do that. And like, for example, decorative stitches that have a lot of density, you actually
want to loosen that up
you
a
want
bit.
to loosen it, actually they'll look better. So, and again, this is something that depending on the model, usually dealers give free lessons and teach you about that. But most of the times now you sew with the regular, whatever tension is preset by manufacturer. You don't have to do any guessing game.
We have a lot of machines that have automatic tension too.
Yes, and that machines, many machines nowadays control it for you as well. You can still go into the screen and adjust it if needed, but automatically machines control it for you.
So one of the things that often gets us hung up as beginners is while we're threading a machine through the thread path, we don't have the presser foot up. Okay.
Important.
Very, very important. So in here, there are two discs that hold your tension. And when the presser foot is up, those discs are open and you can put your thread between them. And you want the thread to go between them or you don't get appropriate top tension. If you thread the machine with the foot down, and you can tell because if you're trying to pick this up and pull it through, there's some resistance to it. The chances are you won't go through those tension discs, and you'll have really, really bad tension going on.
You won't be able to sew because on
Yeah.
the bottom you will have a lot of thread gatherers, like it could create a nest.
Bird's nest.
And a lot of people assume
Yeah.
something is wrong with actually bobbin thread, but it's not. It's your
It's your top.
axis of top tension that's not in
Yeah.
not in the tension.
Yeah.
Thread that's not in the tension.
Yeah. So when your tension discs are open, you can really pull your thread out easily. And when they're closed, there's tension, right?
So before you thread your machine,
Yeah.
foot's up.
Foot's up. And always, once we are threaded and we've pulled our bottom thread up, we always take the thread to the back, through the foot and through the back. Where's my cutter? It's over
Right
there.
here.
There's usually a cutter off on the corner of the machine over here that you can cut threads like this off just by picking them up and pulling them over. Okay, now what do I need to know?
Now
So I've got some fabric.
We have some fabric. You choose your stitch.
Choose my
most of the
stitch.
machines, computerized machines, they wake up with a regular straight stitch in the center needle position.
Okay.
So, and that's when you decide, like, okay, now I'm choosing what I'm sewing with. If it's a straight stitch and you're happy about all the settings, you put your fabric under the foot, you lower your foot. You can maybe adjust your speed. Right now it's set on very, very like slow. We don't sew that slow ever. We're going fast because that's the place where we can speed. Right? So, and
mine has a turtle and a running bunny on it.
Yep.
And I like sewing at fast bunny.
I love sewing at high speed too. I come
Yeah.
from manufacturing background, and slow speed kind of gives me
Yeah.
too much of time to be bored and make mistakes.
So we're gonna pop this down. So 3.5 means I'm in the middle.
It's in the middle. So most of the computerized machines, they have in the like Janome Brother, Baby Lock, Pfaff Viking World, they have 7 millimeters stitch width, the highest. That's the opening of your needle plate.
Okay.
And if you look on the screen, it says 3.5. That's the half of it. And so you're right in the center. Straight stitch does not have any width. It's a one straight line.
Okay.
So your 3.5 is a one straight line. And if you choose to change that, if you push buttons that will control your needle, it will just go to the left or to the right, depending where you're moving it. And for many techniques, it's also very important.
So can we show them that?
Oh yeah, for this machine, you will, you need to bring this little underline to this number right here. And now these buttons will control to go high or low.
Okay.
So if I push right here,
and you can watch the needle
moves
stepping
by
over
tiny millimeter.
Okay, so now we're at 7. Yeah.
It's 7 all the way to the right, but now we can go also all the way to the left. And that's another thing, talking about basic mechanical machine versus basic computerized. Basic mechanical machines do not give you needle positions. There are maybe central needle position and all the way to the left. And it's important. It's necessary to have, depending where you want to get, or scan 1/4 inch you want to get, or regular 1/4 inch, or fat 1/4 inch. So it's very important to be able to adjust that. So, but 3.5 will give you.
And then if I want to go over here and adjust my stitch length.
The same way,
okay.
And you go and make it bigger or smaller to your liking.
I tend to like stitching it at 2. I don't.
Quilters do. As I understand, and I'm coming from garment world, but every time I switch to or read anything about quilting, 1.8, it's a quilting stitch.
I paper piece at 1.7, 1.8.
Okay.
I do foundation paper piecing at about.
Well, that makes sense because you need
much smaller.
Yeah.
But I rarely go over to.
Okay.
Unless I'm basting for a garment.
Okay. Yeah.
And just so you know, basting means tacking it down. It's a test stitch
that you take out.
That you can take out later or stitch over. But you put that stitch in to make sure you're doing it right, because it's much easier to pick out if it's not where you want it to be. So, all right. So I'm at my favorite stitch length. And I've got my foot down.
And you're in the center needle position.
I'm on the center needle position.
You can do
and I'm not
full
going
speed
too
ahead
slow.
If you want. Oh, oops, our feed dogs are down, I think.
Our feed dogs down?
Somebody else playing with it. Okay, go ahead.
Are they up now?
Yep.
There we go. Did you hear the click?
Yep.
And then we're off. We can go all the way up here.
Yeah, because it's not as fast as your machine you're used to, so you will be
No,
safe.
that's not fast enough money for me.
You can cut or you can engage needle up, needle down to
Okay.
raise and move.
Yeah, with needle up, needle down, one of the things that I like most about that. So that means I'm starting and stopping with my needle down. I've changed it.
Any curves, any
So
corners to turn.
if I want to switch and go in a different direction, I get to pivot on that needle without having to reach for it.
I find it so priceless for any type of sewing. Either I'm piecing, quilting, garment sewing, home deck sewing. I use it all the time.
Yeah. The first machine I had that had that feature on it, it was like I will never not have that feature again.
Exactly. And so that's another thing. When customers come and say, I don't need anything fancy and I've had machine for 30 years and that's all I want, something similar. It's your responsibility to still mention something like that, because they don't realize it's out there, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, of course it makes sense.
Oh, it's like going from a really old car to a new one and getting a backup camera for the first time. It's like I didn't even know that existed, and now I need it. And heated seats.
Yeah. Well, in that that's additional bonus, and that's kind of important for us to let people know, because they might not realize this is something they will benefit from.
Yeah. The other thing is when you're in needle down position, when you do cut the thread, the machine knows the next thing you're going to do is move the fabric out of the way, so it lifts the needle up and gets it out.
And then when it cuts thread, it also leaves just enough tail for you to start next stitch. So
without making a rat's nest.
Yeah, because also people are so used with older machines.
You have to pull thread out.
And hold both of them tight.
Yeah.
So many lessons I teach, like, no, you don't need to. It's fine. It will
fine.
sew, and it sews.
Okay.
So that's basic computerized machine, regular straight stitch. And to switch to different stitch, again, we go highlight our number of the stitch, and you can go and find stitch you like, and choose the number, click, and it will sew that stitch.
How about that guy?
Number?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
How about 25? Can we get 25?
Absolutely.
Do I need a different foot?
Let's see. We'll find out.
Okay.
1, 2. Oops. 1, 2. Highlight this.
Good. You don't have to do it 25 times.
No, you can go by tens.
Oh my gosh.
Here is 25. And look, it tells us to use foot F.
F. Okay.
F foot is a decorative stitch.
And we're currently on foot A. This is something that I really like on this type of machine. This part of the foot stays on, and we just touch a button at the back, and it drops the foot right off for us. And if you can see in there, see that's the A foot right there. Do we have an F?
We sure.
Somebody has an F.
We do. And now we're going to snap it back on. And you're ready.
There we go.
And I can show you another magical feature of very basic computerized machine if you'd like.
Okay.
If you unplug your foot control, if you pull that, and now, just let it be. Now let's push this.
Oh, wow.
And let's look at each other.
Oh, no, I want that a little slower when I'm not in control of it.
You can. Oh, in case of decorative stitching, you have to sew like long line, you can go full speed ahead. But what's magical about computerized machine over mechanical, when you come to the point when you want to finish your decorative stitch is a dense stitch. It has a motion stitch. There are many, many stitches in one sequence. You cannot know where is the last stitch of that sequence. So when you continue sewing and you decide, oh, I want to be done, you push this wonderful button, it will finish stitch for you. It will go up and down and ties a knot and stops automatically. And you can cut. And now when you raise your foot and take your fabric, your stitch is finished. It completes the sequence, which is beneficial when you do decorative stitches. You don't want half of the decorative, half of the flower on your tablecloth. So that's a handy feature to have.
We can also use this one as a stitch lock at each end, right?
And it is a stitch lock.
Yeah, I know that one is bullet.
Yeah, bullet, tie off, fix button. The idea is it goes up and down a few times and ties a knot, and reverse actually goes backwards as long as you're holding button and goes forward. So it's stronger, but this is a bit lighter. And for decorative sewing, for buttonhole making, this button is the one to use.
Yeah. So if we did want to lock a stitch, we could start with that. Oh, I need to reset this part though.
And 2 ways to reset. You can go back with number,
Uh-huh.
or you can turn machine on and off.
Oh, okay.
And actually for this particular model, if you choose stitch number 3, it already has automatic lock.
Oh,
And you just start sewing.
okay. And it's again asking me for foot A, but
Yeah.
I know that we can still use foot F,
You
right?
can, absolutely,
Yeah.
you can. Foot F has, comparing to, knowing your feet is important, right?
Yeah.
So comparing to regular straight stitch zigzag foot, if you look to the back, on the bottom of this foot, this one is completely flat. This one has a little channel. It's kind of little space.
Ah,
Maybe
so
from here.
the density of these stitches is going to ride
Yeah, so
underneath
there is
there
a little
better.
space for those dense
Yeah.
stitches to build up.
Mhm.
So that's the main difference.
Whoop.
But it will absolutely do regular straight stitch
Okay.
or zigzag as well.
Okay,
So
definitely. And the next one, after I see this little lock stitch work,
in order to see
So,
it, you probably need to go very,
2,
yeah,
3.
slow, and then go.
And now it's off and running.
Yeah, and when you come to the point when you're ready to stop, you push. You can push either reverse or that once, and continue sewing.
So it's going to lock that
And
off
just
again.
locks it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all.
And if I didn't want to do it that way,
Well, now you start to, it's
I
security.
can do this, right?
Not in this stitch. Because
Not in this
yes,
stitch. It still
yes,
does the
yeah.
bullet.
For
Okay.
yeah, if you want
Okay.
just to have either option, you would go to 0, 0.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
But it's specific to this machine. Other machines
Yeah.
might do it a little bit differently.
let's take a look at the various different 1/4 inch foots.
Okay, 1/4 inch feet. Okay.
Okay.
Depending on the machine, like for example, for basic computerized, you have option of a 1/4 inch foot with guide and no guide.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, I'm not very prepared here. And idea of a 1/4 inch foot with the guide is that there is a foot. The hole is designed for one single opening for the needle to go right in the center, and the distance from the needle from the center of this hole to this guide is a 1/4 inch. And that's what assures that you have perfect 1/4 inch seams for your blocks to sew perfectly. And also the higher you go, there are also feet that have now, instead of single hole opening, they have oval opening that you can control by tiny millimeter, because scan 1/4 inch is important nowadays, and you can just move tiny bit, single millimeter, and it looks already a little bit different. So and those feet become very popular. So many brands now have an option of buying 1/4 inch foot with the guide, no guide, with the single hole or oval hole opening. And one brand even calls one of their 5 1/4 inch feet perfect 1/4 inch foot. And imagine what people want to buy. Perfect quarter, because otherwise so it's just funny. But yeah, choices are there, and this is one of the most basic, good, reliable 1/4 inch feet. And you can, the same way you snap it on.
And this works with the needle in the center position?
Yes. So you just go regular straight stitch.
I'm going to go back to stitch 0 then. Okay.
And if you want, we can create your little fabric.
No, I've got some here that I can work with on here. I need to waste that fabric.
We have more.
Okay. Alrighty. There's the go pedal. Yeah, fast bunny required here.
It's funner.
It's way more fun. So I did not start off with fabric that was cleanly cut, but you can see how beautiful this stitch is. Look at that. Nice 1/4 inch. Good one. I've made quite a messy piece of fabric here.
It's all right. That shows that machine sews.
Okay. Now the other 1/4 inch foot that we sometimes see doesn't have the guide or the bumper on the side. So you have to watch your fabric go along the side of the...
Between all of our customers, we see preference. I noticed that people who started quilting long time ago, like they quilted all their lives, and without all this 5 choices of 1/4 inch feet, they know how to see, they know how to eyeball it, they know the guide gets on the way, they don't like it, they honestly say, I hate that guide. It's like, it's all right, there is another foot for you. But newer quilters who just getting into it and like, oh, I want to sew, I want to quilt, they learn with this, and it helps them a lot.
Yeah.
So, but again, preference.
Yeah, my favorite way to get the 1/4 inch is actually this, the seam guide,
And that's another
the
option.
T-bar. This particular piece
But
here
but
on
but you
the,
also need to make sure your foot is not like you're talking about right now, your 1600p, and that tiny foot is about 1/4 of an inch,
yeah.
and you put guide right next to it, and
Mhm.
that gives you perfect 1/4 of an inch. But if you take traditional machine
Mhm.
with zigzag in needle in the center position, it's a bigger distance than 1/4 of an
Mhm.
inch. So you cannot. You will
Yeah.
have to move needle position, and then you can put guide
Yeah.
in. So there are ways.
There are so many ways to get a 1/4 inch.
Yeah, there are.
If you don't get a good 1/4 inch with one method, start looking for other methods because there are so many different ways to do it.
And
Just
all
like
of
so
our
many different ways to make quilts.
yeah, yeah,
So
and
yeah,
all brands on the market, they have choices of
yeah.
feet nowadays.
Okay.
It's assured we have choices.
Ah.
So
Okay, so now I'm ready to go quilting.
okay,
Okay.
let's go quilt.
So thanks for joining us on this tour of machines. One of the things that I really want to encourage you is when you do go shopping for a machine, look at your local machine dealers because they're going to fit you to the machine that you need, not just the one that maybe you think you need.
Yeah, we always want to offer you a little bit more than you think you might need, just for you to know the options.
Yeah. See you
So
on the next one.
bye.